Hey, looky here. Guess what? It's nighttime. Oh, have I had a strange day? Okay. Welcome to Steph's World, Spiritual Foundations 46. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to tell you something. It has been one weird day. Okay. Strange. Different. I didn't wake up till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and for me, that's just unheard of. Of course, I never know anymore when I'm going to wake up. Sometimes it's at 1 in the morning. You have to excuse me, I got hair everywhere. Sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and frankly, I've had a seizure. You might as well know that. One night, just this last week, I took some pictures, and boy, was that tough because when your hands are going like this, it's like try to hold the cell phone to take the pictures. Okay, try to be as still as you can, and it was tough. And I was taking pictures for my doctor. Now, I know he is pretty much aware of what's been going on with me. And that's life. It's life. And we just have to accept it. I have to accept it. Sadly, there are other people in my life that will have to accept it too. My child, my other child that I don't hear from hardly ever. I imagine he has a girlfriend now, and that's the reason why. I know my son well. When he has a girlfriend, he doesn't call me because he's busy. I love my baby boy so much. He was my firstborn, and he was a beautiful baby, let me tell you. I have pictures of him, and I can't find them, but I do have older pictures of him that I got later on. He's the one that I had to let go of when he was 7 months old, and it tore my heart out. I had a friend at the time actually accused me of being selfish for doing that. She didn't live in my skin. She had no idea what was going on in my world. I didn't see her very much because I worked so much. So she didn't have a clue. But at the time, I was young and foolish, and I didn't have good guidance and direction, and I took it to heart. And I questioned my actions over and over and over again, and I wondered, was I really being selfish? Giving up this child that I loved with all my heart and soul? And I'm going to tell you about some amazing things that happened between me and that child. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. I'll take the time to do it. My daughter may remember this. I don't know if she does or doesn't, but when she was about 3 and 4 years old, that would have made him, he was about 6 years older than her. He would have been 9 and 10 and 11 years old when we did this. It was right before she started kindergarten. And we had a regular routine. I was a big put them on a routine mother, okay? Somehow or another, I did learn a few good things in my growing up. And that's another story, by the way. But anyway, so one of her routines was that in the morning, there were certain TV shows that she was allowed to watch. And one of them was Bozo from Chicago, and I wanted to watch Bozo really bad because I knew that my oldest son was going to be on Bozo. I knew it. And I was waiting to see him. But I also knew that the last time I'd seen him, he was a 7-month-old baby, and how in the world was I going to recognize him? But I had to keep searching, and I had to keep looking. So that's what we did. I think it was every single day during the week. And then she would watch Sesame Street, and I would feed her some lunch. And then our next, during Sesame Street, I'd usually lay down on the couch and rest for a while while she was busy doing that, because I worked nights, and I didn't get home till at least 3 o'clock in the morning, so I don't know where I got all the energy from, but I had it. But anyway, after she ate lunch, we had another little deal that we did that was very, very, very important to me. We had kind of like a little forest that we could go to, okay? It was open to the public. It was some land that somebody owned, and they made it it wasn't really an arboretum. I mean, this was woodsy, really woodsy. And I would take my daughter out there, and for some reason, it was so important to me to get her close to nature. I wanted my daughter to appreciate the world, the real world, the trees, the bushes, the ground, the bugs, the spider webs, every bit of it, to not be afraid of it, to enjoy it, to appreciate it. So I would take her out on this, and a few times we had some walks that were, whoa. I can remember her saying, "Mommy, I don't think I can make it up this hill." And Mommy didn't think she could make it up the hill either. Oh boy, they were rough. So sometimes we'd have to make our own treks through the woods to try to get our way in a zigzag way up the hill. But anyway, I guess the point, I can't get this straightened out. It's supposed to go like that, and it's more comfortable when it is, so. But the point is that most of my objective in that was to help my daughter to be ready to go, not afraid, and be appreciative of the world around her, to love the world around her. And guess what? I think it worked. There for a while I didn't think so, because she used to complain about bugs all the time when she got older. It was hilarious. Taking picnics was not always a pleasant experience, believe me. But you know what she does now? And I got a picture over on the wall of something she gave me. Christmas. It was beautiful. It was a picture that she took because today she is a photographer. Now she's not a famous one, but she does do it for real, for her living, part of her living. So I would say that yes, she is definitely a photographer. And she does a wonderful job. Beautiful stuff comes out of her camera. I don't always get very much of it, but when I do get it, it's fabulous. And she takes pictures of plants and things like that, and I wonder where that came from. Yeah, I've been talking about children and them teaching us. Well, there's some things that we also need to participate in teaching them. And I guess I did a pretty good job, huh? I mean, a better job than what I thought. Okay, now, let's get back to Bozo. I was sure that my oldest child said, I used to think to myself, could I go and get him back? I mean, is there any way I could get my son back? Because I felt like I finally had things together. I was married to this man. He knew my son. He was around. He was the boyfriend, you know. He knew how much my child meant to me. And I wanted my child to be reunited with his siblings. He had a brother and a sister. And I wanted to be reunited with my child. And I used to think to myself, I know pretty much where he's at in the Chicago area. And boy, did I want to go and find him and bring him home. Almost every day, that thought pleaded through my mind and my soul. So, you know, the next time someone calls a person selfish when they give up their child, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They absolutely don't know. Now, I admit that there are probably some selfish women out there, but some of us didn't want to lose our children, and I tried everything to keep him. Well, anyway, here I'm going to tell you about the miracles of God, and I want you to listen carefully. So for about 2.5 years, I did the bozo thing with my daughter. And she probably, I think she even remembers it. I've asked her a couple of times about it. Okay, now, when my child turned, right before he turned 19 years old, I got a phone call from my sister, one of my sisters who lived in Chicago. I have a couple of sisters that still live up there. Excuse me, got a little trouble going on right now. But anyway, she called me and she said, Steph, I think your child, and I'm not going to say his name, is back. I know it's him. I'm positive. He knows things. You know, I had a group of questions that if he could answer those and if they met the criteria, I would know immediately really my child, just in case he ever tried to find me. And I had already decided to try to find him. I was just waiting to get the money up. I didn't know for sure how much it was going to cost. Well, anyway, she called me and she said, Steph, there is one thing I do want to ask you. Did his father have really curly hair? I never told my family anything about his dad. They never asked. And I said, yeah, he did. He definitely did. And she said, well, I'm going to let you talk to him. So I did. And I felt like fainting. It was a miracle. Well, about 2 weeks later, he came down. And when he came down, he was all ready. I mean, he had all kinds of stuff. He had pictures. He had a video. He had all kinds of things to share with me about his growing up years, because these are years that I missed. And a couple times we talked till early hours of the morning. Just talked and talked and talked and talked. And I could tell he was upset. He couldn't understand, especially after he saw me living in a pretty nice house with my other 2 children. I was divorced by then. And it was very shocking to him because I think he expected to find a mother that was, just barely making it in life. And I'd gone back to college and gotten a degree in computer science. So I was making really good money, and I'd traveled all over the country and done my job. And at that time I was working at a bank, so it was fairly easy to be around for the kids and everything. So he was a bit surprised that, and we had a new car. We always had, every 2 years I'd go out and trade the other one in and try to get another new one, because I never ever wanted us to be stuck in a car that wouldn't run. I was done with trying to fix cars. I was done with it. And so, it was kind of a shock to him to find his real mother with 2 other children living a pretty good life. It really was. He didn't expect it. I know. Anyway, now I mentioned that his father was black. So he had a very nice tan. Let's put it that way. I got pictures of him. I put them online, in fact. A lot of people thought he was Italian because he took after me tremendously. Yes, he had very curly hair, but he had red blonde hair like his mother, just exactly like me. If y'all know how Mariah Carey looks, that's how he looked. A lot like that, except he was a man, and he looked like me. And he was tiny boned like I was. He wasn't big boned. His brother was real big boned like his father, or not as big boned as he could have been, but he was pretty big boned compared to the other one, you know. I don't want to mention everybody's names right now. Now, when we were having these talks, I tried to tell him how bad things were for me, really. That he couldn't judge everything by what he saw. He had to understand what happened to me emotionally and mentally. That deep in my heart, I felt like something had always been missing. And I always thought to myself, dear Lord, please, if anything happens to my child, please make sure I know about it. I prayed for that all the time, because how was I ever going to know? Well, as we were talking one night while he was visiting, I told him about what I used to do with Rachel in the Bozo show. And his mouth opened up so wide it was unbelievable, and he just about fell out of his chair. And he said, I have something to show you. He got one of the videos out, and he put it in to my TV, my video player, VCR, and I watched it, and sure enough, there was my son. And he had been picked to participate in all of the stuff that they used to do with the 2 or 3 kids that they always pick. He was one of the ones that got picked. It was amazing. See, I knew. How I knew? I give that to God. But I knew that my child was going to be on the Bozo show. And I desperately wanted to see him. Desperately. Well, there were a few other things, but that was the biggie. And that was a good 20 years ago when that fall. That was about 20 years ago. So for 20 years now, he's been part of my life. He has been back in my life. Now, he got very, very close to his brother, Matt, who passed away 2 years ago. And when Matt passed away, even though my other son was having difficulties in life anyway, but when Matt passed away, he really went into a horrible depression. Horrible. And you just don't realize how much they may not have fully grown up with each other, but I brought them all back together again, or at least I tried when he came back into our lives. And there's only so much you can do as far as bringing a child that has another group of parents and another family besides his real one. You know, it's kind of difficult. It really is. But it takes a lot of work to do it. Trust me. So I had to have a lot of faith in God to do all that. But I did. I did. And if nothing else, it probably increased my faith tenfold. There was a connection between me and my son, and there still is. He might be absent for a while, but he's always in my heart and soul, and he'll never, ever, ever be anywhere else, because this is my baby, my firstborn baby. But anyway, that's the story about the miracle that happened when he was younger, and it all happened right around the same time. I mean, we figured out the time frame, and sure enough, it was the same time frame. Now, I'm going to talk about something else right now. I want to dip into some more stuff that I found. And let me get one of my books out that I periodically read to you. Well, you know me. Okay, now, first of all, I've talked about each one of us examining our own lives, okay, to figure out what has caused our fears within life, and how there are things we can do to help ourselves. Well, one of those things, and I don't want to lose that page, but one of those things is doing what I call an inventory. Hey, stores inventory the products, right? Shouldn't we inventory ourselves? And by the way, there's something I want to mention about doing an inventory. We look for the good too. It's not just the bad stuff. It's everything of consequence that made us who we are today. We want to find the good, because there is good in every human being in this world. You know, when we're born a little child, you think that little child is a bad child? Just because they might grow up and steal from a store or something? How do they know what that child's going to do when they're newborn? How does anybody know? When a newborn baby is born, they are a precious gift from God. When I saw all three of my granddaughters being born, I was right there. I had the privilege, my daughter gave me the privilege to be with her through the giving birth of all three of my grandbabies. And let me tell you something, that was another miracle of life. It was unbelievable. And now to see those girls and what they're doing in life. I post all the time about them. And I know if you're on Google Plus, you watch them. You check it out. You see what those girls are doing. But you got to remember, I was there when they came into this world. And for me, see, they've got Native American on both sides of their family. So if you ever notice some of them, one or two of them looking a little native, that's why. Because you're probably thinking, good Lord, Steph's an 8th Shawnee. The grandchildren are much further down the road here. Well, yeah, they are, but they've got it from their dad's side too. So they've got his part, and then they got my part. So, we mixed our tribes. But anyway, here's something I wanted to read you. I'm going to read you some things that are pretty typical when you do an inventory, okay, that we find out about ourselves, all right? Now, how do I know this? Because I've helped several other people do an inventory. See, remember I told you it's good to have another person help out, help point some things out. Well, these are the things that they help point out, okay? Trust. Yeah, that's a biggie. We usually have a real problem with trust, let me tell you. You know, I love it when someone says, well, I don't trust my partner because they did such and such, blah, blah, blah. And that is blah, blah, blah. Because the trust part is within us, not the other person. You understand what I mean? If you got a trust issue with somebody, you need to look at yourself, not them. Yourself. And then we have these security problems. Now, there's several of them. Okay? Sexual, emotional, social, financial. Oh, financial's a biggie. Oh my goodness. We put so much emphasis on money. It's unbelievable. And I'll be telling a story about that one, and probably in the next one I do. I just don't have enough time. And I'm going to add another one, probably spiritual. I think people definitely have security problems or issues, or spirituality is a part of that, in my humble opinion. I've noticed that, when I've helped others with their inventories, and I know it was a problem for me. That I can tell you. Okay, now fear. Oh, is that a biggie? Woo! So when you're doing the inventory, that's when you find out about what caused or causes all this fear that's settled inside of us, okay? Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of us that try to say, oh, we're not in fear of anything. Yeah, right. And then there's self-esteem. Oh yeah, yeah. And both men and women have the same issues with self-esteem. Don't think that's a woman thing, please. Get that right out of your mind, please. Okay? And then we have self-respect. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've talked about this. We have to respect ourselves too. Big time. And then we have power. Power. And the question is, what do we mean by power? Is it God? Is it a human being trying to be in power over us? Have we felt like somebody had power over us and we can't get rid of those feelings? There's a lot of things connected with power. Do we want to be powerful? A lot of stuff. And then there's control. Oh yeah. Hey now, power and control, they kind of sound familiar right now, don't they? I'll bet you can guess what I'm talking about, but I'm trying not to mix that with this, okay? And y'all know what I'm talking about, don't you? I don't have to spell it out. And then the biggest piece of all, guess what that might be? Ego. Ego. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good old ego. Now, often the ego thing is pride. You know, some people think pride's a good thing to have. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Read the Bible. You know, if you ever get into this inventory stuff with someone that's got it together, make sure you pick someone that really does seem to have it together. They'll help you understand about pride. Look it up. Research it. I think you'll find out that it's not all such a good deal as you think it is. Okay? You can be proud of somebody. You can feel good about what maybe something that you have done in life. But we're talking about a little bit different kind of pride here. And I think you understand what I mean. And if you don't, we'll get into that a little further. Okay, now I wrote down some other things that I thought were kind of cool. And I've talked about these before, but I'm going to do it again. Because we've been on this topic lately. One of the questions that was asked me was, what is my primary purpose? Do my priorities stick with the priorities of my primary purpose? Yeah, we're talking some work here, aren't we? Huh? Okay. One of the things we do not do is interfere in someone's spiritual growth. That's a big time no-no. That's one of our primary purposes. We never should interfere with someone else's spiritual growth. You can't move that along faster. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. If they're not ready, they're not ready. Now, I've been through this with my family just in the last few weeks. It's been a real nightmare with one of my siblings right now, and that's as far as I'm going to go with it. But the point is, you know, they all know Steph has little experience with this, and they do listen to me, but not completely. Well, I just stepped back and let them find out for themselves, which they're doing. I love them. I love them deeply. And it's that love that makes me able to step back. That's what love is, by the way. Somebody want to know, that's another piece of love. Knowing when to step back, to step out of the way, to let our children do what they must do, to let our siblings do what they must do, to even let our parents make those choices in their lives that maybe we don't think are good choices, but you know what? They have to make them to learn. And I don't care how old they are, they still need to do it. Everybody does. Okay. Now, here's something that I need to read you. Number 1, when I do what is good for me in a God-governing position, I am doing what is best for the whole. What is best for everyone, even people I don't meet. Yeah, there's an energy that I'm going to give off. It's wonderful. Okay, now number 2. Let me read it first. So I wrote it kind of funny. Excuse me for that. Okay, here's the rule. Only God is governing in my life. That's it. Only God is governing in my life. Okay? Now, here's something else. This is a divine law. Staying out of things in this world that are out of line with the principles of divine law. Staying out of them. It's a tough thing to do. But sometimes we have to let the world move in the direction that the world needs to move in. Kind of like a human being. Sometimes we have to just step back and say, okay, let's see what the good stuff that might be coming out of this is going to be. All right? You understand what I'm saying? It's difficult, I know. Believe me. I'm a fighter. I like to get right into it. But sometimes that was the problem. I had to stop that fighting stuff down. I had to shut it down. All right, now we constantly draw outside energies to us when we are doing these principles. We are always going to draw outside energies to us. Okay? Now, I'm going to read a couple of things and then we'll be done. And oh God, I'm way past time here. Okay. I talked about the philosophy from the beginning as we know it. Now this goes back a good 10,000 years, by the way. It was the Greeks and the Egyptians. And, they were kind of the fathers and mothers, or whatever you want to call it, of us. They got us going. Now, of course, we have the Celtics, and that is where I came from. And a lot of my spiritual energy comes from that part of me. Surprisingly enough, it doesn't seem to come from the Native American part. It came from that other part. Yeah, it's a little shocking, but it did. Well, anyway, it talks about Hermes, and I've talked about Hermes before too. And the cosmic laws, God's order, the 7 cosmic laws of Hermes. Okay? Now, I'm not going to read them. Find some of my earliest videos, I read a book about Hermes. It sounds like it's a child's book, but it's cool, cool, cool. And you need to look it up. Go onto YouTube under me, and you'll find it. All right, now I'm going to read something out of this book. It's Make Your Life Worthwhile, and it's by Emmett Fox. This is called God Knows No Conditions. Okay, God does not have to prepare now to bring something about next year. Nor is He. Now, in another book, Emmett talks about the He thing, okay? Under normal circumstances, Emmett doesn't believe in he, she, it. He's more of an it, okay? But to make it easier for other people to understand all this, remember he wrote this back in the 30s and the 40s, okay? But he uses he in this. But if you read I got another book that he wrote that he talks about God does not have a sex, period. God is not a he. Okay? That's something that we mistakenly teach our young children, and then they grow up thinking God is a he, sitting on some throne up in the sky. And I'm sorry if I upset your way of thinking, but I'm not going to buy that. And most people that are into spiritual theory don't buy it either. Okay? Alright, he says here that, nor is he unable to do something now because he omitted to do something else last year. God can do anything, anywhere, at any time, without reference to anything or anyone else. Our carnal minds are always putting difficulties in the way of demonstration. We say too late, or too soon, or too far, or too near, or too much, or not enough, or so kill our demonstration. But all this is carnal mind thinking and has nothing to do with God. It's us. That has nothing to do with God. Determine today that you will demonstrate health, happiness, and true success by realizing that God is working in and through you to bring these things about. And do not for a single second allow the carnal mind to tell you that it cannot be done. In other words, and this is what I taught my children. I guess God was working with me and I didn't even know it. But I taught my children, there is nothing in this world that you can't do if you want it bad enough. And guess what? They did. They're heroes. Both the children I raised are heroes today. And I pray that my oldest son will be his hero. He'll find his way. I pray he does. Now, here's what he says. It can be done. And if you mean business, it will. Sound familiar? God is not concerned with conditions. And if you refuse to let them inhibit your thought, they cannot prevent your demonstration. With God, all things are possible. All things. We cannot live in a fear state of mind. We have to get rid of that kind of thinking. Okay, one last thing I'm going to try to get done here. Thought is destiny. Again, Emmett Fox. Find and use your inner power. You think, and your thoughts materialize as experience, and thus it is. All unknown to yourself as a rule, that you are actually weaving the pattern of your own destiny, here and now, by the way in which you allow yourself to think day by day and all day long. Your mind is thinking, busily thinking, all day long. You think it isn't? And don't think it's on the job either. It's busy, busy, busy. And it's probably thinking about stuff so far away from your job, so far away from what you probably should be doing, it's unreal. I know. I've done it. I still do it sometimes. It is altogether in your hands. Nobody but yourself can keep you down. Nobody else can involve you in difficulty or limitation. Neither parents nor wives nor husbands nor employers nor neighbors nor poverty nor ignorance nor any power whatever can keep you out of your own when once you've learned how to think. And I'm going to call it an end for tonight. I love y'all. This was a long one and I'm sorry. Sorry, Dave. Had to be. Love y'all. Bye-bye.